Hello, this is M. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to see the page layout menu in Excel. And this menu option is linked with the print options that we have here, and also with the page layout view and the page break preview. So let's move ahead and have an overview about what we have under the page layout. So we have the themes, we have the page setup, we have the scale to fit, sheet options, and the range. If we start with the very first one, with the themes, by choosing a different theme, we can see that our table color coding is going to change. But aside of the color coding, moving back one moment to the insert option, and please view also the insert menu option video that I have prepared, we can add a shape. And then whenever you are going to change your theme color, your shape color will also change. So this will not be only at the table level, but you are going to change the theme for your specific worksheet. So please keep this in mind. Let's go with this one for the moment and then move ahead with the colors, where we can do quite the same things, but by changing a different color coding. So we have a series of colors that we can use and then to replicate what we had under the themes. Then for the fonts, we can do exactly the same thing. We can change the font for the table, but at the same time, thinking to the home video that we have prepared, we can exactly do the same by going here at the top left extremity where is no letter and no number, and to change the for instance, we want to change the font or the size or the color, the font color, and so on and so forth. So here we have, in fact, almost the same thing, but we have some fonts which are linked with that specific theme. That's the only difference. And then when we choose the shape, when we can go to the effects and to apply those effects to our shape. So to change our shape based on the effects that we are going to create. Now let's imagine that we are going to delete that shape and then try to print this table. And as you can see, between the H and the I, we have the salesperson type divided by a dotted line. And if we go to the printing, we can see that the salesperson, it's actually the last column which is visible, and then from the type to the end we have different separators. And another challenge that we have is that we don't have the header here. So if I'm going to print it, it's going not to be very clear about what I'm going to do. So let's take it one by one. And first, to see if by changing the margins, meaning that if I try to reduce the margin from the page, if I'm going to get more space for my printing. So let me take the narrow option. And at this point I can see that it's visible to see until the salesperson, but that's it. Let me also try to have a preview on printing salesperson. Okay, without headers, separate columns. Okay, it's still work in progress. If the margins are not going to work, and you can also, for instance, put some custom settings here and press OK, then you can see that now we also have the type. So if we take the custom margins, we go with 0 margins, and then we get back to print. Okay, it's slightly better because we have also the type. What we still don't have the header, and we still don't have all the columns covered here. Let's try then to change the orientation, the page orientation. And there are pluses and minuses. There are pros and cons for both of them, because for the portrait you are going to cover less columns. So you are going to have less columns that could fit your portrait mode, but you will have more rows. So you'll be able, if you have 3, 4, 5 columns, that's perfect, because you are going to cover a lot of rows with a very few columns. But then if you have multiple columns, you might prefer the landscape. And for the landscape, what you will see is that it's going to include more columns, but with limited rows. So here I took the landscape mode. I need to getting back to preview, to print preview. I can see that this goes finally till the end, but then I have a few rows per sheet, so I don't have the same number of sheets. Okay, I can imagine that I'm going to print it to the A4 format, which is the standard one. So it will be landscape mode with no margins or 0 margins. Okay, that's good. But then what I could do as a first, before going to the next options, to click on the print titles. And as soon as I click on the print titles, I have this menu, and where it says rows to repeat at top, I can click to that arrow and then to select my header, which would be the line 1, full line. You don't need to take selection the full line. You click on here, press OK, and then let's get back to printing and to see what we have here. And as you can see, now we have the header repeated for each page. So we had a couple of improvements. Now we can cover all the columns. We can cover, we have the header repeated at each page level. But then you can also select your print area and to select whatever you want to print. So I'm going to click on Ctrl Shift right and then down arrows to select everything, and then I have the printing area selected. If you selected something that is not fitting your expectations anymore, you can also go to the print area and click on clear print area. Then we have the breaks. What are the breaks? The breaks are in fact some form of separator, and if I click on insert page break, it will add me that break. So I have a break between 14th and 15th rows, and also a break between the H and the I columns. If I want to see it, I can go to the third menu here, the page break preview, and also to play with those breaks. So I can simply drag it wherever I want to have the printing area. And what I can also do is to expand or reduce my printing area, thinking that I will have, for instance, 3 columns. So I can see that I can play with that page break. That's clear. Okay, for the vertical, it's clear. I don't want to add anything else. I want to have everything included. That's good. But then for the horizontal page breaks, I need to keep in mind that I have a certain number of rows. So I'm going to the 75, keeping in mind that my first row is the header. So I have in fact 75 data rows. So I can take the first, let's take the first 26, because the first is the header. Then to go to the row 50, I will have 25, starting with 27. Let's go to 52, and then from 53 to have the third part, the third page. I can get back here to the normal view, get back to the printing, and I can see that now my pages are quite aligned. So I have more or less the same amount of rows as we just did in the page break view. If I want to have a clear view, and when I'm scrolling down without impacting in any way the printing, I can quickly go to view, select the row below the first row, below the header row. I can go to view and free space, and that row will permanently remain there. So it will be easier for me to understand what I have and what I have outside of the printing area. If I want to add a background, that background by default won't be added to the to your printing. So you can add your background. If it's a low resolution image like I have here, that image will be repeated multiple times, but it won't be printed. So you will still have a blank page to view your data. So let me delete the background by simply clicking here. So it's quite straightforward. I'm adding the background, and then the insert background becomes delete background. The print titles, we just saw it, and then we have the scale to fit. Please keep in mind that the scale to fit is strictly linked with the page setup. Why? Because in the scale to fit, you can choose the number of pages that you have based on an horizontal length or a vertical length. So I can choose, for instance, from here, I want to have 3 pages with 3 pages, so horizontal and vertical, and then I have the default scaling. And then if I want to insert a page break, that page break won't work. Why? Because I already said that I want to have 3 pages. So for Excel, it makes no sense to set up a break where, however, the required number is to have 3 pages. So if you have any difficulty, you set up a certain number of pages, or you have already the number of pages here but you want to add a break, please keep in mind that you either insert a page break, or you let the automatic paging to be active. So if you let it to automatic, you have the breaks. If you select the breaks, the automatic won't work, or it will work by default. If you want to have from here the number of pages that you want to print on, then you will not be able anymore to use the breaks. That's important, because sometimes you might be amazed on how the menu options are working or not. And then for the scaling, when you choose, for instance, you take 1 page, 2 pages, let's take these 2 pages, your scale might change or not, so you can play also with the scaling. And for the scaling, what that means is that you will have a sort of a zoom in or zoom out at the printing option. Moving ahead with the sheet options, we have the grid lines and headings. What are the grid lines? Is those sort of cells. So if I'm clicking here, it's all blank. If I'm ticking that one to see the grid lines, I will be able to see them. As you can see, by default, it's not selected for printing, because if we go here back to printing, we see the blank overall background. But if we get back and tick that one and go back to printing, we will see after the print the grid lines. So keep this in mind, that the grid lines selected or not will impact you. And the same will happen with the headings. What are the headings? Are those letters and numbers that are identifying your references. So if I'm unticking the view, everything that we have, the letters and the numbers, disappeared. And also in the printing, they are not present. But if I'm ticking to view them, I will view them here, but not when I'm going to print it. If I want to print them, however, I can tick the print option as well. And then if I get back to print, those will show here. So I will be able also to print the column letters and the row numbers because I simply selected the print option here. Then we have the bring forward and send backward options, and for this one we need to go one moment back to the insert. Let's take a shape. Oh my god, what shape? No, another shape, bigger. Okay, a big one. Good, I have this one, and then I can simply copy paste it. Let's go to shape format. Let's try the black one, and then let's copy also this one, and this time to right click, format shape, and fill it with red. Okay, good. Now what I can do is to overlap those shapes, and I can overlap them one by one. So as you can see, I have the black above the blue and the red above the black and the blue. So what the bring forward does, if I select the blue one, so the very last one, and I tick on bring forward, that will be forward with one layer closer to the eyes, my image. So the bring forward will bring it above the black but still below the red. If I'm taking the same shape, the blue one, and I'm clicking to bring to front, that will bring to the closest point to the eyes. So that's the only difference. If I want to do exactly the same thing, I want to play with the blue one, we can go to send backward, and send backward meaning that I'm going to send it back after the red, after the first one that I'm seeing, but still above the black. If I'm going to send it to the back, it will go to the below the latest shape that we have. So let's simplify and say bring forward, it's one layer, bring to front, it's all the layers, the closest, the most visible one. Send backward, it's send backward, it's sending back one layer back. In our case, a layer is one of those shapes. And send to back, it's to send it as back as possible. Let's play like this one. So to have that image really behind all those other images. Then if we don't remember exactly which kind of shapes we have, or we have a sort of references where we rename the shapes, what we can do, we can go to the selection pane and we can see that we have the 3 rectangles, and if we click on each one of them, that will be selected, and we can play with those ones, and we can also make them visible or not by ticking on those eye signs. So the selection pane is good when we have multiple shapes, and also when you want to hide specific shapes but you don't know exactly which shapes you used to have initially. Then for the alignment we have a couple of options. So what I will do, I will click on the first one, left click on the mouse, click on Control, and then keep the Control key pressed. Press the left button of the mouse, and then start playing with a line, and we can align them to the left. As you can see, it's all aligned to the left. Let's try to do something else and to have them like this, just to be a bit more clear what each function does. So let's realign them on the left, all on the left. Good. Align to the center. It's already centered, they are centered, that's good. Then let's align it to the right. It's all aligned to the right, but let's get back and view again. Align center. Okay, that's aligned. Get back. Control Z. Aligned right. Everything aligned to the right. Then align to the top. We have all of them aligned to the top. Then we have the align to the middle. Everything aligned to the middle. Control Z. To get back, align bottom. Everything aligned to the bottom. Then we have the distribute horizontally, and those are the this is the horizontal distribution. Then let's distribute vertically, and it align with the same space between them. And we can also snap them to the grid if we want to, and we can snap to the shape. So we can snap one shape to another shape, so on and so forth. And we can also view or not view the grid lines also from this menu. So it's exactly the same thing that we have here. We also have it here. So if you want to align them, let's put them centered and then vertically aligned. Let's imagine that you don't want to play with the shapes all the time, but you have them aligned, it's all good, it's all perfect, but you want to keep the three shapes in the same format always. What you can do, you can go to the group option and click on the group. Please keep in mind that here you have the points. You have the three objects selected. I left click on the mouse on the group, and now I have the dots at the group level. And now when I play with my shapes, I will have only one group. If I tick on any one of the shapes, I click the first time, it will select the group this time because those are grouped. If I want to select a specific shape and change the color, for instance, I double click on that one and then format shape and change, let's say, the color for only that one without impacting the grouping. The group will remain always the same. That could be good and useful in some cases. If you want to ungroup them, you can simply go to one shape. You have the group selected here, you get back to the group and you click ungroup, and that's it. Those are ungrouped back. And the rotation, it's quite self-explanatory. You can rotate them to 90 degrees, to the right, to the left, to flip them horizontally, vertically, or you can even change the rotation angle if you wish. And here you can change also the scale that you have and also the width. So you can play as you wish. And then if you want, after rotating them, changing the scale, so on and so forth, what you can do is get back and group them. And you can also group them in that specific format. So this was the overview about the page layout options that we have under the Excel menu. Please do like this video, subscribe to my channel, and have a perfect day ahead. Thank you. Bye bye.